So let's go over the Vancouver Canucks. You know, there's always something new to talk about with this team, and it's kind of weird that I'm saying that, because just a week and a half ago, I was talking about how there's never anything new to talk about with this team, which is why we didn't make too many videos on this team in the previous few months, I would say, because there were just so many other stories with other teams. But now we actually have stuff to talk about, and this did happen a few days ago, so I apologize for covering it late, so to speak. But before we get into all this stuff with the Vancouver Canucks returning and their plans getting rejected, thank you to those who commented about Mickey Mouse in the previous Vancouver Canucks video. If you want to be featured in the next Canucks video, stick around to the end, where we'll have some keywords to talk about in the comments, which we will indeed get to. But for now, we're talking about the Vancouver Canucks and their rejected return to Vancouver plan. And I was about to say return to play, because whenever I say return to, my mind automatically fills it in with play at the end, but no, this isn't our return to play plan we're talking about the return to Vancouver. First off, if we're going to go talking about players who are in Vancouver and who are not here and whatever, who are going to be coming back here, let's go over onto Elias Pettersson's first stream with Adam Gaudette, because during his first stream, he actually ended up giving a few insights as to who's still here, who's practicing with the squad, and what exactly is going on with the Canucks. And honestly, it's not even just the streams. Like, Elias Pettersson has become a very big, social media personality here in Vancouver, and it's awesome to see. But in the background, we're still seeing some other Vancouver Canucks-related things happen here. For example, Elias Pettersson's birthday party saw Thatcher Demko and none other than Troy Stecher attend. We also had that really nice mountain hockey session with Demko and Stecher and all those other guys, and McEwen was there as well. That was actually documented in the New York Times, I believe. So for all that stuff, it's awesome to see, but of course, Troy Stecher isn't Vancouver property. I think there was an Instagram post of him earlier this week showing him packing his bags and probably heading to Detroit. But from PD's first Warzone stream with Adam Gaudette, which happened about a week ago, we had some interesting notes. Earlier in that day, Elias Pettersson had a team practice with Antoine Roussel, Braden Holtby, Thatcher Demko, Zach McEwen, Alex Edler, and Tyler Myers. Now, you might remember that Myers was actually in Kelowna earlier, alongside of Jake Virtanen. Apparently they were training together, doing their thing, and working out with each other. But of course, PD doesn't mention Jake here. I'm not really too sure if that's just the fact that he left him out, or Jake might be doing some separate training or whatever. I do kind of know that he was with Tyler Myers, though. So we have the two goalies, we have McEwen, we have Roussel, we also have the Swedish dad and Edler also doing his thing over here. Pettersson said that he met Braden Holtby, and Holtby is great. He made a save on Elias Pettersson in practice that reminded him of the Game 2 save in the Stanley Cup Finals against the Vegas Golden Knights in Vegas. He hadn't met Nate Schmidt at that point. Gaudette mentioned that him and his wife were traveling to Vancouver soon, probably next week. Again, this stream happened a week ago, so probably sometime this week we might be able to see the hockey god back in town. Who knows? Then they start talking about Antoine Roussel and how Elias Pettersson was pretty cool as a dude as well. But we had ourselves an article over here written onto The Province by Ben Kuzma. This is uploaded on the 15th, and it goes over how exactly the Vancouver Canucks Return to Town program was actually canned. The title of the article reads, "No Quarantine Power Play, as the Canucks are returning for a 14-day protocol." Let's take a look at this right here. The Vancouver Canucks proposed a creative virus quarantine to adhere to the mandatory 14-day protocol for their players returning from the US and Europe. They presented a training camp plan, where players would practice in a group cohort arrangement at Rogers Arena, with a professional athlete exemption from health officials, and only travel between the rink and home. And it didn't really go over well. So before we go on to Jim Benning's quote, what exactly is this kind of plan? Well, it's a plan to bring all the guys who are coming from America and Europe, and instead of just have them isolate by themselves in a hotel room for 2 weeks straight, give them a training camp-like plan where they would go to and from the arena, practice in a group, and not really do anything else but just those things. Travel between the rink and home, to and from practice that would be granted to them by health officials. Because, hey, they're athletes. Jim Benning says that everything that he heard was that they didn't accept the group cohort quarantine idea, which means their US and European players would be coming into sort of their 2-week quarantine before they can join the rest of the group. We've laid out options for the players, and they're going to decide. We can't tell them what to do. and they'll decide as a group how to go about it. With the virus, there are a lot of things to be considered in keeping players healthy and also their families and people who work for us and everything that goes with running a team. That's our first concern. Now, I just kind of want to get in over here talking about how, yeah, there's no way that would have been accepted here. Like, you can say what you want about whether or not the rules are fair or whatever, but the rules at the end of the day are still the rules. The rules are if you're coming in from overseas, you're coming in across the border, you quarantine for 2 weeks, that's it. No ifs, ands, or buts about it, no going to work, no going to school, no doing anything, you're staying by yourself. So, the idea of a group cohort where all the guys who are coming together to Vancouver from over the border and actually have them quarantine together with the ability to travel to the rink and do stuff at the rink and, in theory, interact with nobody else, yeah, I'm not surprised that plan was rejected. If you remember what happened last time, if you go back to, I think it was the middle of the year, before the return to play happened, we had ourselves all the NHL teams actually going back and retreating into their NHL cities. We had the players return back to the NHL clubs they played for and practice. It's why we were in a position where we saw some teams like the Canadiens, the Blues, and the Lightning get infected with the disease because some things happened, and eventually, because all the players are practicing together, we had a few positive tests from different NHL teams. I believe, if I'm recalling this correctly, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, I believe when the Vancouver Canucks initially had a quarantine when they returned back here in the summer, was there not like a big area where Elias Pettersson, JT Miller, and I think Brock Besser were watching golf on a TV screen together? Correct me if I'm wrong, I do believe Elias Pettersson might have posted about it on his Instagram story or something, like quarantine life or whatever. I think that's what happened. And that apparently was fine because, hey, you have yourselves a whole bunch of guys who are quarantining together, and they're not going out to the rink and doing things on the actual ice surface where people are supposed to be practicing. So I'm not sure, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on over here. That is indeed a different part of the plan, because I believe earlier they didn't actually have a cohort practice at the rink kind of idea, so maybe that's why it was rejected now, but it was okay back then to actually have a group quarantine. Who knows, maybe a group quarantine session where you're only staying in the same room would be fine too. I don't really know, especially with families, things are going to get weird, because for example, Adam Gaudette, it's not just Adam Gaudette who's coming here, it's his wife, so, it's gonna be difficult having all these quarantine rules, and especially the fact that if NHL players are gonna start coming over now, yeah, you guys are spending holiday season quarantining, and that could be really rough for some people mentally. We're not going to deny the fact that these are human beings, and sure, they're making millions of dollars every year, but family is family, and to be taken away from such a special moment like the holidays to be isolated by yourself in a nice hotel room in Vancouver, seeking the skyline and looking up above, things could get a little existentialist from time to time. So that's kind of the video here, just talking about the Vancouver Canucks and their updates, because they do have some guys who are supposed to be coming over here, but the plan for that was rejected. Talk to me in the comments about, oh man, I was just thinking about that imagery that I saw earlier of being in a sky-high apartment in Vancouver, overlooking the nightlife and seeing everything down below. It's reminding me of the Hot Fuss album from The Killers. If you know who The Killers are, then that's awesome. But I want you to comment in the comment section, Mr. Brightside, because that's a very popular song that's on that Hot Fuss album. Comment down below for a chance to be featured in the next Vancouver Canucks related video on the channel, but also talk to me in the comments what you think about the Vancouver Canucks overall situation, why guys like P.D. Roussel and Edler chose to stick around here instead of going away back home, what you think about the Vancouver Canucks quarantine plan that got rejected, and whether or not you're surprised on that fact. Talk to me in the comments. Hope you enjoyed this video. Trolls 99, and bye.